Well, I happened to come across this clip from Jake the Snake Roberts talking on his Snake Pit podcast. I don't know who this host is. I've never seen him anywhere else before other than this podcast with Jake the Snake. But Jake, known to be very smart to the business. He's a well-respected mind for professional wrestling, psychology, and that sort of thing. And, so when Jake has something to say about something, regardless of your feelings about Jake, good or bad, for the most part, Jake's pretty smart to the business and knows his shit. So it was interesting to hear him on his take here about Mick Foley. Mick Foley, a well-respected man himself in professional wrestling, a legend. And I haven't heard Jake make the news too much about burying anybody or taking shots at anybody, but he certainly did not hold back in his thoughts about Mick Foley here. Check out this clip.
Well, I always thought Mick did too much. He just put his life on the line, and it was foolish. I don't mind a rugged style, but when you intentionally try to hurt yourself, by doing the flips on concrete, that's just ignorance, man. That's desperation. I feel like it's desperation. Maybe that's what he wanted to do. He thought that's going to be his thing. Well, Jesus Christ, man, if you go down that line, how salty can you get? Next thing you know, you're going to have somebody going out there with a pistol and they're going to shoot themselves in the leg. And then, what the fuck, Look at that, folks. He's been shot. I appreciate Mick and I love the guy, but I think he's careless. And even though he'll tell you he's not careless, that he actually figures this stuff out and weighs it out and all that. But look at him walk around now. That's all I got to say.
Here's the thing about this one, though, is that Jake the Snake's not wrong. He said it rather bluntly and didn't really sugarcoat it. I don't think he was outright attacking Mick. He says he likes Mick. But it came off it was a bit stiff, for sure, 100%. Calling Mick desperate. But he's not wrong. And Mick has even said so himself. Mick's got his what's his Mick Foley risk-reward ratio equation that he applies to all of his big stunts or whatever. But Mick has gone on record and said that he really felt, because of his look, because of his lack of athleticism in a lot of cases, that he was going to need to get himself over by doing the thing, going that extra mile, doing the things that other wrestlers won't do, putting his body on the line in ways that other people won't do. That's going to get him that attention, the Nestea plunge and his elbow out to the floor and all of that shit adds up, takes his toll on him. The Hell in a Cell, of course, my God, look at that. And Jake, the way Jake ended it there, all you got to do is look at the way the guy walks. That's all I got to say about that. But it was the desperate that really stuck with me, calling Foley desperate. Sounds like a dig, but it's the honest to God truth. It is desperate. It is desperation. And Foley has admitted as much himself. That's why he does that shit, to get that attention, to stand out. It worked for him. Mick Foley is an absolute legend, an icon, but he is fucked up. He's had a hell of a rough life, physically. He's one of, if not the most beat up wrestlers in the history of professional wrestling. But it was all of those bumps that made him famous. It was Hell in a Cell specifically. That was iconic. That will live long after Mick Foley is passed. That will be replayed. That will be his moment that he's remembered for forever. But he got himself on the national stage by taking those sick bumps out on the floor, having those hardcore matches. This dude went to Japan and was set on fire and fucking fell into nails and stuff just to get his name noticed. It's one way to do it, and as Jim Cornette often criticizes, it worked for Foley, but now it's Foley's cross to bear because Foley has now inspired every other guy in a fucking pair of basketball shorts and t-shirt, some ripped jeans to go out there and think that they can do wrestling because they can jump off of high places and get hit in the head with stuff. I can fall into barbed wire. I'm hardcore. He's hardcore. He's hardcore. You ever see that kid? That kid on TikTok and Facebook and stuff? He goes, okay, this one is for my juggalo homies. And then he jumps, whoop whoop, and he jumps into a pile of fucking broken glass and barbed wire and stuff and then screams like a little girl. Ah! Holy fuck. You're welcome, Mick Foley. You can thank Mick Foley for that. That's Mick Foley's influence on this business. So it is his cross to bear. All these hardcore deathmatch guys. Started with Terry Funk and Mick Foley. Sabu, another one to blame. It's one type of wrestling. People like it. People enjoy it. People respect Mick for that. People like their hardcore stuff, their deathmatch stuff. But the damage that this man has done to his body for this business, and look, all the respect in the world, all the props. I love Mick Foley. I do. And I respect and appreciate every bump he's ever taken for my entertainment. But there's something to be said for not needing to go that far. MJF famously put out a tweet. I think he tweeted and deleted, but he had a couple tweets out recently to the effect of the idea should be to go in the ring, get paid, and make it out in the same condition you left in. Not go out there and try to kill yourself for these fucking marks. Well, your 5-star rating pay for your hospital bills or whatever, you know. There's something to be said about that. It's not needed. And I don't know that Mick needed it because he was quite the personality and character without the physicality. It's not like it was his only thing like half the roster in ECW. You know? Balls Mahoney, that was his only thing, right? Ian and Axel Rotten. Mick Foley had it. He had a look, he had a presence, he had a way of speaking, his voice, his promos, his character work, his stories that he told, his anti-hardcore storyline in ECW. He didn't need it. But it made him who he is. What are your thoughts? I'm curious. Did Jake the Snake go too hard on Mick here? I think he worded it pretty stiffly. I think he could have sugarcoated it a little bit better. But why? What's the point, you know? I think he's speaking truths here. I really do. That's just my thoughts, and I'm just some guy yelling at a microphone in my basement. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next.
Let me tell you something, brother. You can check out full episodes each and every Sunday right here on this channel, dude. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to take your vitamins and say your prayers, brother.